From the Fantasy Armchair, it is the Fantasy TyRant. Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. It's me, the Ty Guy, the Fantasy TyRant, back with another video to show you my top 10 waiver wire picks for Week 14. As you can see, I haven't taken down my birthday backdrop yet, but, hey, I've just been busy, alright? Preparing everything, getting myself prepared so I can get you prepared for Week 14. But the birthday show was definitely a lot of fun. I'm glad for those of you that could have made it. Thank you so much for helping me celebrate my birthday, getting some of your questions asked. I hope that helped out a bit. I know some answers helped and probably some didn't, but hey, them's the breaks, right? Now, it went well, so I might be doing some more of these live shows here in the future. I'll let you know if I do. So I just turned 39. That's a year away. I'm turning the big 4-0, and I'm going to make that show insane. So you can look forward to that. Anyway, we'll move on here, but real quick, I just wanted to say, remember, we got that goal, 200 subscribers by Christmas, all right? We're getting close to that. We got 68 left to go, all right? That's an average of 4 per day, okay? And I think you can help me with that. So if you see that subscriber number and it doesn't say 200, then hey, do me a favor, help that up, all right? And if you already have, then have a friend help too, have them come watch the show, subscribe, get better at this game. We can all get better at this game together, right? Oh, real quick though, you do have to get 10% on those likes, okay? So if we have got like 200 views, that's 20 likes. Come on, 10%, you can do the math. It's not that hard. Just give me a thumbs up, give me a like, it's all good. But before I get into it, I feel like I need to give you guys a couple reminders about what this waiver wire top 10 is all about. Now, when I'm doing these waiver wire picks, I'm only talking about guys that are available in under 50% of fantasy football leagues. So those that are over 50% owned, I'm not going to be talking about it. As much as I love Cam Akers, I think he's going to be amazing talent and a good asset for your team moving forward. Hey, he's owned in more than 50% of leagues, so I ain't going to talk about him. Just because that information is useless to most of you, so why would I even bother with it? Alright, anyway, so I just want to get that out of the way first, but here we go. My top 10 waiver wire targets for Week 14. Number 10, Cole Kmet. I've been talking about this kid for weeks now. I told him to keep him on your radar. Hopefully you did, because over the weeks leading up to this past week, he's been getting more and more looks and taking more and more away from Jimmy Graham. I was talking about him here and there this past week, saying he could be taking over the top spot at tight end in Chicago. And I think Graham's goose egg coupled with Kmet's double-digit fantasy day pretty much sealed that call. He's the tight end to own in Chicago, and with the tight end position so thin, he's definitely worth an ad. Number 9, Baker Mayfield. Okay, now before you vomit in your own mouth and click away, hear me out. He had a rough patch there for a bit, but over the past 2 weeks, he's reestablished himself as a viable QB for fantasy purposes. Yeah, that was against weak defenses, and no, I wouldn't use him this week against the Ravens, but clearly he's gotten the job done in softer matchups, and in the last 2 rounds of the fantasy playoffs, he's got both New York teams. Cha-ching! Cash in and pick up Baker if you're streaming QBs, or your main QB isn't a stud and has some bad matchups for the playoffs. Number 8, Phillip Rivers. Speaking of streaming QBs, if you need someone to help you out in the early rounds of the fantasy playoffs, or to help get you in your last week of the regular season in your league, kick the tires on old Phil Rivers. He's been serviceable as of late, and he's finally establishing a connection with T.Y. Hilton. That offense has been gelling more and more each week, plus his next 2 matchups are against the Raiders and the Texans. Gotta love that. Pick him up. Number 7, Rashard Higgins. Remember what I said a bit ago about Baker Mayfield and facing the 2 shitty-ass New York teams in the last couple weeks of most leagues' fantasy playoffs? Just copy and paste here. You might send him against the Ravens this coming week, but after that, he'll be up for flex consideration. If not by you, maybe by your opponent. And playoffs is the time in which you need to make defensive moves on the waiver, so get Higgins if you have the room and see what happens. If his recent uptick in targets continues, you'll have a sneaky piece going into the playoffs. Give him a shot. Number 6, Jordan Reed. Like I said before, tight ends who can produce are hard to come by right now. And when healthy, Jordan Reed has top 10, maybe even top 5 upside at this position. Kittle likely won't be back this season, and Reed has some juicy-ass matchups coming up, including a revenge game against Washington, whose only defensive weakness seems to be the tight end position. So if you're hurting for a tight end, and a lot of us are, he's worth a look. Number 5, Ty Johnson. He played well when Frank the Tank went down, and for at least another week, he'll be the starting running back for the Jets. And while that's like landing the lead in a community theater production of Twilight the Musical, a warm body at running back in the NFL is worth picking up. And this week, he faces the Seahawks, so he's actually worth your consideration. I'd have him higher up in the list, but both Gore and P. Ryan could come back after next week, and the matchups aren't that great after that anyway. But for a 1 week spot start, you could do worse. Snag him up. Number 4, T.Y. Hilton. He's back. And this time, I think it's official. Like I said earlier when I was talking about Rivers, the next 2 matchups against the Raiders and Texans make him worth the pickup alone. But his recent connection with Rivers has him returning back to his old high-end wide receiver 2 form. And since he's no longer the only game in town for the Colts, he can make him pay for that rest of season, especially the next 2 weeks against piss-poor defenses, so go get him now. Number 3, Logan Thomas. Like I've said a couple times before, the tight end position is thinner than Kate Moss on a hunger strike. So if you can get a guy who's top 10 or better rest of the season going into the fantasy playoffs at tight end, then you got it made. Captain Checkdown Alex Smith is a tight end's dream, and Logan Thomas is his main man, so you should make him yours too. He's available in 60% of leagues, so if he's available in yours and you're struggling to fill your tight end position, this guy is set and forget for the rest of the season, so snatch him up. Number 2, Kiki Cutie. Because Fuller's suspended for the rest of the season, Cutie's moved his way into the number 2 spot for Watson, at least. Cooks is dealing with a concussion scare that turned out okay, but still has him shook up. And if the last game was any indication, Watson has developed a good rapport with Cutie. He loves to throw deep down the middle of the field, and that's where Cutie does his best work. I slipped him into my list last week, but this week, I'm bumping him all the way up to the number 2 spot. He'd have the number 1 spot if I didn't have a running back there. Sure, wide receiver's deep, but if you're stacked everywhere else and need some depth for the playoffs, or you're in a 3 wide receiver league, Cutie is the top wide receiver ad for this week and should be 100% owned in all formats. And my number 1 waiver wire pickup of the week is J.D. McKissick. Antonio Gibson went out with a toe injury, and while that never sounds like a big deal, you'd be surprised how long players will stay out with turf toe. I'd say he's out at least through next week, and yeah, Peyton Barber's the supposed replacement for Gibson as the early down back, and he's an honorable mention for this list, maybe worth a pickup himself. But all of those short screen passes and checkdowns from Captain Checkdown himself, Alex Smith, are only going to increase, and McKissick's role will surely increase as well. If he does well enough, he could be doing most of the work in that backfield. And if that happens, you have a borderline running back 1 right here. That should get all your nips and peckers hard, eh? Is he worth the rest of your fab or the number 1 waiver spot this late in the season, when you have to win now and considering his potential rest of the season, even when Gibson is back? Yeah, it is. So do it. Go get him. You'll thank me later. So there it is, my top 10 waiver wire picks for week 14. Real quick, I just want to go over some honorable mentions. I think Anthony Fursker could have a good week if Jonnu Smith is still down. It's a good matchup for him. Pick him up if he's available. Another guy to keep your eye on is Gabriel Davis. If John Brown continues to be out for the Bills, then Davis becomes the solid number 3 in that offense behind Beasley and Diggs. So if he's out there, snag him. Anyway, moving on. Just as a reminder, waivers are going to be clearing Thursday instead of Wednesday. So you got an extra day to set your waivers, to take a look at this information, mull it over, see what you want to do. Hopefully this helped, and hopefully it helps you get further into the playoffs. Now there's a lot of analysts that like to bring their stuff out early. So like a lot of those other guys weren't even talking about McKissick because they didn't know about what was going to happen to Gibson. That's what I'm saying. They might come out with some things first. Alright? But remember, first is the worst, second is the best, and third is the one with the hairy chest. And don't worry, ladies, I got you covered there too. Thank you all so much for tuning in and supporting. Remember, we got that goal of 200 subscribers by Christmas. You do that, and I got a big Christmas present for you. And remember, we need 10% likes, so take a look, hit that thumb, give me a thumbs up if you like what you see. Hey, thanks for helping out. Here's another thing. If you want to help support me, make sure that this show continues and get some one-on-one advice with me every week. Now you'll see the link for my Patreon below. Go ahead and hit that up. See all the different tiers of membership you can do. For $5 a month, you get unlimited access to me and my brain by asking me questions via chat. Hey, that's a pretty good price. Anyway, I appreciate it. I gotta make a little money, I got bills to pay. Want to kind of spruce up the place a little bit too. Hey, whatever it takes to help make this the greatest video for you, to help you reach the promised land and get yours. So help me help you. And for those of you who've been getting free advice from me, just consider that a free trial. But starting next week, it's got to cut off unless you help me out. Hey, I gotta do what I gotta do. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Get those waiver claims in. Good luck, and I'll see you Thursday. If you're still watching this show, it's because you're a gamer and you've made it, alright? And shit is about to get hardcore. But don't worry, I got you covered. Because when it comes to fantasy football, no one does hardcore like the Fantasy Tyrant. Just watch.